What if I told you that your freedom is just an illusion? That every choice you make has already been decided for you? That the way you vote, the food you crave, even the outrage you feel when watching the news, are not born from free will, but carefully engineered responses to invisible triggers planted deep inside your mind? You see, modern democracy isn't a system of freedom. It's a psychological experiment. A grand illusion where the cage is invisible and the prisoners, they smile. Because control today no longer needs chains, soldiers, or prisons. Control now wears a smile. It comes wrapped in convenience, in entertainment, in the soft voice of authority saying, "It's for your safety." They don't need to control your body anymore. They just control your mind. They learn that the most obedient slaves are not the ones forced into submission, but those who believe they are free. So you keep scrolling, consuming, performing, thinking you're choosing, when in truth, you're following an invisible script written by those who understand the mechanics of human obedience far better than you ever will. And the most terrifying part, you love it. You defend it. You even fight for it. Because when manipulation becomes invisible, it feels like freedom. Today, we'll expose that illusion. We'll reveal the hidden psychological weapon corrupt leaders have used for centuries to keep entire nations obedient. Not through violence, but through perception. You're about to see how power no longer rules through fear, but through pleasure. How your thoughts, your desires, and your silence have been weaponized against you. So take a deep breath and stay until the end. What you'll hear in this video might shake the foundations of what you believe about your country, your choices, and even yourself. Before we begin, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Because the truth I'm about to share isn't just information, it has liberation. And in the next few minutes, you'll see why awakening isn't comfortable. But it's necessary. Look around you. Everywhere you go, you see flags of liberty, waving slogans about independence, choices in every aisle, voices shouting, "Be yourself and follow your dreams." It feels empowering, intoxicating, even to live in a country that promises you freedom at every turn. You can buy what you want, vote for who you like, speak your mind on social media, and choose from 1,000 versions of happiness. But deep down, in the silence that follows all that noise, haven't you ever wondered why it all feels the same? Why, despite endless choices, do you end up wanting exactly what everyone else wants? That's not freedom. That's design. What you call free will is a pre-written script, a managed freedom that gives you just enough illusion of control to keep you obedient. Modern America mastered this art. It turned democracy into a performance, a spectacle of choice that keeps people emotionally invested but spiritually asleep. The system doesn't need to tell you what to do. It just needs to control what you desire. Every advertisement you see, every political speech, every trending topic has a single purpose: to shape your perception of reality. And no one understood this better than Niccolo Machiavelli. He once wrote, "It is better to control people's perception than to control them by fear." Think about that. Centuries ago, before mass media, before propaganda, Machiavelli had already mapped out the psychology of obedience. He knew that real power isn't taken by force. It's given, willingly, by those who've been taught to believe. You see, fear has limits. If you scare people too much, they resist. But perception? That's infinite. When you control how people see, you no longer need to control what they do. Because they will police themselves. They'll align with the system voluntarily, proudly defending the very structure that exploits them. And no writer foresaw this more clearly than Aldous Huxley, author of Brave New World. While George Orwell warned us of a future ruled by oppression, Huxley warned of something far darker, a world ruled by pleasure. He imagined a society where people no longer needed to be forced into obedience. They would love their servitude. They would worship their distractions. And that's exactly what we've become. Scroll through your feed. Every like, every notification, every dopamine hit is your soma, the drug Huxley invented to symbolize a people too entertained to care about their own captivity. It's why you can't stop checking your phone. Why silence feels uncomfortable. Why has thinking deeply become rare. The system doesn't need to silence you anymore. It just keeps you talking about meaningless things, arguing about the symptoms while ignoring the disease. They don't censor your voice, they drown it. The modern citizen lives in a digital circus, applauding their own distractions. We call it progress, we call it freedom. But in truth, we are dancing to the rhythm of algorithms that know us better than we know ourselves. Every click, every impulse, every craving has been mapped, predicted, and monetized. Freedom, in its original sense, meant the ability to think, to act, and to choose based on inner truth. But that version of freedom is dying, replaced by a manufactured version of choice that keeps the machine running smoothly. You can pick your candidate, your brand, your lifestyle, but not the system itself. That's off limits. And that's the genius of it. You can complain, you can protest, you can post your outrage online, all within the boundaries that have already been set for you. They don't care what you say as long as you keep playing the game. The illusion of freedom is the most dangerous prison ever built, because you don't try to escape from a cage you can't see. You decorate it. You call it home. Machiavelli would smile at this world, not because it's evil, but because it's efficient. The art of manipulation has reached perfection. Make people feel free, and they'll never realize they're slaves. So next time you scroll, next time you vote, next time you say, "I'm doing this because I want to," pause. Ask yourself, where did that want come from? Who planted that desire? Who profits from your obedience disguised as choice? Because until you question that, you're not free. You're programmed. And maybe, just maybe, that realization is the first crack in the illusion. If this message resonates with you, I want to hear your story. Tell me in the comments, have you ever felt like your choices were already made for you? Have you ever seen through the illusion, even for a moment? I'll read your comment personally and respond, because your awakening matters more than you realize. In 1961, a quiet man named Stanley Milgram conducted one of the most disturbing experiments in modern psychology. He gathered volunteers at Yale University and told them they were helping with a study on learning. Each volunteer was instructed to deliver electric shocks to a stranger in another room whenever the stranger answered a question incorrectly. With every mistake, the voltage increased. The screams grew louder, the pleas more desperate. Yet the man in the white lab coat simply said, "The experiment must continue." 65% obeyed. They pressed the final switch, a shock they believed could kill, not because they wanted to, but because someone told them to. Milgram's conclusion was terrifying. Most people, when placed under authority, will obey orders even when those orders violate their conscience. Obedience, he found, isn't forced. It's learned. It's a habit deeply rooted in our need for safety and belonging. From childhood, we are trained to please parents, teachers, bosses, systems. We're rewarded for compliance and punished for questioning. By adulthood, obedience feels like morality, and corrupt systems know exactly how to use that. They don't demand submission through violence. They manufacture it through fear, repetition, and moral guilt. They whisper, "It's for your safety. It's for the greater good." They make obedience look virtuous and resistance look selfish. When people believe that compliance equals goodness, they stop thinking. They become self-policing slaves. Carl Jung saw this pattern decades before Milgram. He called it the collective shadow, the unconscious fear that drives societies to trade freedom for protection. When anxiety spreads through a culture, people regress psychologically. They crave control, authority, and certainty. The leader becomes the parent. The population becomes frightened children. Jung warned, the more we repress fear, the more it controls us. And so, in every age of crisis, war, pandemic, economic collapse, people instinctively obey. They cling to anyone who promises order. They surrender personal judgment in exchange for comfort. It feels noble, it feels safe, but it's just another form of dependence. Modern leaders have perfected this dynamic. They don't need to silence you. They only need to convince you that obedience is moral. The message is everywhere, in headlines, advertisements, even social causes. Trust authority. Obey science. Be a good citizen. Those phrases sound innocent, but they're designed to bypass critical thought and trigger emotional compliance. When obedience is emotional, control is invisible. People start enforcing it themselves. They shame anyone who questions the narrative. They call doubt dangerous. They defend the system that exploits them, not because they're evil, but because they've been taught that disobedience equals immorality. This is the evolution of tyranny. No dictators, no soldiers, no chains, just collective obedience disguised as virtue. Milgram revealed that humans follow authority because it absolves them of responsibility. Jung revealed why. The unconscious mind fears freedom. Freedom demands awareness. It demands that you think, that you risk being wrong, that you stand alone. Most people would rather be good followers than awake individuals. That's why control today is psychological, not physical. You don't need a gun to make people obey. You just need to make them afraid of disapproval. You need to make them believe that obedience keeps them safe, loved, and accepted. And when they start policing each other, when friends turn on friends, when families divide over belief, power becomes self-sustaining. The system doesn't rule you. You rule yourself on its behalf. This is what Jung meant when he said, "The greatest danger to humanity is not weapons, but the unconscious, because the unconscious obeys without question. It follows authority automatically, like a reflex. The moment you stop thinking for yourself, the experiment has already begun, and you are both the subject and the victim." Freedom starts the instant you recognize that reflex. When you pause before reacting. When you ask, who benefits from my obedience? When you choose awareness over approval. Milgram's volunteers obeyed because they thought they were doing something good, serving science, helping progress. That's what makes obedience so dangerous. It wears the mask of righteousness. It tells you that submission is compassion. But beneath that mask lies the oldest lie in history, that control is safety. And yet, awakening doesn't require rebellion. It begins quietly, with one conscious breath, one moment of doubt, one act of courage to think for yourself. So ask yourself now, how many of your beliefs are truly yours? How many of your fears have been planted? How many times have you obeyed just to belong? Because obedience without awareness isn't loyalty, it's hypnosis. And the only cure for hypnosis is consciousness. If this message resonates with you, tell me your story in the comments. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to conform, even when something inside you whispers, "This isn't right"? I'll read and respond personally, because your awareness, your willingness to see, is the first step toward true freedom. Modern control doesn't use chains or guns anymore. It doesn't need to. The most dangerous kind of power is invisible, a soft cage built from distraction, division, dependency, and guilt. Corrupt leaders discovered that people no longer have to be forced into obedience. They just have to be guided toward it. Distraction is the first weapon. Flood people with noise, breaking news, social media outrage, endless entertainment, and they lose the ability to think deeply. When attention is scattered, awareness dies. A distracted mind can't question, can't rebel, can't see clearly. Aldous Huxley warned that the future wouldn't destroy truth. It would drown it in irrelevance. That future is now. We scroll, consume, and react, mistaking stimulation for freedom. The more entertained we become, the less conscious we are. Once the distraction is in place, division follows. A united people are dangerous, so leaders keep them fragmented. They divide by race, gender, class, politics, anything that keeps citizens fighting each other instead of questioning authority. Social media amplifies this perfectly, creating echo chambers where anger becomes identity. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "He who has a why to fight can bear almost any how." Today, that why is manufactured daily. You're told who the enemy is, why they're evil, and why you must destroy them. The result? A population too busy hating each other to notice who profits from the chaos. Then comes dependency. When people rely on a system for survival, obedience becomes instinctive. Modern society makes you dependent on things you don't control: your income, your data, your sense of belonging. Technology, convenience, and consumption create comfort while quietly removing self-reliance. You can't grow your food, build your tools, or sustain yourself without the system, and that's the point. A dependent citizen doesn't rebel. They comply because rebellion threatens comfort. They trade freedom for convenience and call it progress. Finally, there's guilt and fear. These are the emotional chains. Sigmund Freud called it the superego, the inner voice of authority that shamans you into obedience. Modern power uses it masterfully. It moralizes submission. You're told that questioning makes you selfish, that silence equals virtue, that good people obey. Disobedience is rebranded as immorality. You don't need a guard to control you when you become your own. The moment guilt replaces conscience, freedom disappears quietly, without resistance. Machiavelli understood this long before any of them. He wrote, "Men are more easily deceived by what they desire than by what they fear." Leaders today no longer frighten you into obedience. They seduce you into it. They give you pleasure, comfort, and validation. They make you believe that obedience is your own choice. You think you re-free because you re-happy, not realizing that your happiness is being sold back to you. This is the invisible strategy, to keep you entertained, divided, dependent, and morally subdued. It doesn't create slaves. It creates believers. People who defend the system because they identify with it. They mistake manipulation for morality, distraction for democracy, comfort for peace. The system no longer needs to suppress you. It just needs you to stay asleep. And here's the bitter truth. Most people prefer it that way. They don't want freedom. They want safety. They don't want truth. They want comfort. That's why this strategy works. It gives you everything you think you want while taking away the one thing you truly need: awareness. But awareness is power. Once you see the game, you can't unsee it. You start noticing how every crisis demands your fear, how every solution demands your compliance, how every choice is framed by forces you never voted for. The illusion begins to crack. The invisible strategy only works in darkness. The moment you bring it into the light, the moment you question it, its power dissolves. So ask yourself, how many of your beliefs are truly yours? How many emotions are reactions planted by design? When you stop reacting, when you start observing, you step outside the system that feeds on your unconscious obedience. If this truth resonates with you, I want to hear your story. Have you noticed these patterns? Distraction, division, dependency, or guilt, shaping your thoughts or your choices? Share it in the comments. I'll read and respond, because every act of awareness weakens the illusion. You can't break free from chains you cannot see. And yet, the first act of liberation is not to fight, but to see. Because the strongest prison is not built of walls, it's built of beliefs. For centuries, philosophers and psychologists have warned us that the mind, when left unexamined, becomes the perfect tool of control. Carl Jung said it best, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." The spell of obedience is not maintained by force, but by the unconscious patterns we repeat daily, scrolling, reacting, agreeing, apologizing for our own truth. The moment you notice those patterns, even for a second, the illusion begins to crack. To break the spell, you don't need to overthrow governments or dismantle systems. You need to reclaim your inner authority. the ability to think, feel, and decide without external permission. The first step is observation without reaction. Every headline, every crisis, every outrage is engineered to trigger emotion. Outrage and fear are the currencies of obedience. When you react instantly, you surrender awareness. So pause, watch the play unfold without rushing to pick a side. The moment you stop reacting, you start seeing. You begin to recognize how emotion is weaponized to guide behavior. In that silence, control loses its grip. The second step is recognizing emotional triggers. Ask yourself, why do certain words or ideas provoke such anger or guilt in me? Who benefits from that emotion? Most of our reactions are not personal, they're programmed. When you identify the source, you take back ownership of your mind. Jung called this shadow integration, meeting the parts of yourself that have been manipulated, understanding them, and reclaiming their energy. The third step is reclaiming solitude. The modern world keeps you surrounded by noise so that you never hear your own thoughts. Solitude terrifies the obedient mind because silence reveals truth. But solitude is not loneliness, it's power. It's where your independent voice begins to emerge, separate from the crowd. The system cannot manipulate someone who has learned to think alone. And the fourth step, perhaps the hardest, is detachment from collective identity. Every system thrives on division. Every ideology demands loyalty. But the awakened individual belongs to no group. You can love your country, your faith, your people, yet remain free of psychological ownership. True freedom means being able to say, I belong to myself first. It means holding beliefs, not being held by them. Alan Watts once said, true freedom begins the moment you stop chasing certainty. That is the essence of awakening. Control depends on your need for predictability, your fear of uncertainty. The more you demand safety, the more you accept authority. But when you learn to walk calmly into the unknown, the entire machinery of manipulation collapses. This doesn't mean rejecting the world. It means seeing it clearly, seeing the advertising, politics, and media as what they are, waves of influence that only touch the surface of those who remain unconscious. Once you become aware, you stop being a wave. You become the ocean. Freedom begins with awareness, but it must grow into discipline. The discipline to stay awake when everyone else is asleep, to question even the beliefs that comfort you, to face fear without letting it dictate your choices. This is not rebellion. It's evolution. It's how consciousness matures. Because real freedom is not granted, it's remembered. You were born free long before anyone told you what to think. The system doesn't create your mind. It only distracts you from it. Beneath the noise, the confusion, the fear, there's still silence, clarity, and power. That's your true self waiting to be reclaimed. The spell can only survive if you keep believing that you are powerless. The moment you see that the control mechanism depends on your participation, it loses all authority. Awareness doesn't destroy the system, it makes it irrelevant. So step back from the noise. Feel your breath. Watch your thoughts like passing clouds. Don't cling to them. Don't fight them. Just observe. That stillness is not weakness, it's your awakening intelligence. Because once you become aware, no one can rule you without your consent. Now, I want to hear your story. What moment made you question everything? When did you first sense that something in this world wasn't real? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'll read them all, because awareness spreads one realization at a time, and your realization might be the spark that wakes someone else. There comes a moment in every life, quiet, almost invisible, when something inside you whispers, enough. Enough of being told what to think, what to fear, what to desire. Enough of chasing approval in a world designed to keep you small. That whisper is the beginning of awakening. You were not born to obey. You were born to awaken, and awakening isn't glamorous. It's painful. It's the collapse of everything false, every illusion of control, every borrowed belief. It's the death of the obedient self, the one who smiled when it wanted to scream, the one that apologized for existing, the one that mistook silence for peace. Awakening begins when you finally stop asking for permission to be yourself. When you stop performing for systems that never had your best interests at heart. When you stop needing validation from those who profit from your confusion. It's when you realize that the approval of others has always been the currency of control. Carl Jung called it individuation, the process of becoming whole. It means integrating all that was rejected within you, your anger, your power, your intuition, your truth, and standing as a complete human being, no longer a fragment of the collective. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." That's the real rebellion. Not rage, not destruction, but the quiet decision to think, to feel, to live authentically in a world addicted to conformity. You are living in an age of mass hypnosis. The screens, the noise, the outrage, all designed to keep you reacting, not reflecting. But the moment you stop, breathe, and observe, the spell weakens. When you stop fighting shadows and start seeing clearly, you reclaim the one thing the system cannot touch, your awareness. Awareness is the ultimate revolution. No ruler can govern a mind that sees through illusion. No institution can own a soul that knows its own power. And yes, it will be lonely at first, because awakening separates you from the crowd. You'll lose people who prefer the comfort of blindness. You'll face ridicule, doubt, and misunderstanding. But don't mistake isolation for emptiness. It is the space where your true self grows roots. You will begin to notice life differently. The news won't control your mood. The trends won't define your worth. You will listen more, react less. You will feel less need to argue, because you'll understand that truth doesn't need to shout, it simply is. The awakened person walks through chaos untouched. They see manipulation, but they do not feed it. They hear lies, but they do not repeat them. They observe the machinery of control with calm detachment, knowing it only works on those still asleep. And that's why awakening terrifies corrupt systems. Because an awakened mind cannot be used. It cannot be bribed, frightened, or bought. You've been taught that freedom is a political condition, but real freedom is psychological. It begins when you master your own mind. And here's the warning: if you don't learn to master your mind, someone else already has. So take this moment. Breathe deeply. Feel the weight of everything you've been told fall away. What remains is you, aware, present, unafraid. That is your true power. That is the mind they fear. Don't let the world lull you back to sleep. Question everything, not with cynicism, but with curiosity. Listen to the silence beneath the noise. And when you find your truth, live it fiercely, because nothing threatens corruption more than an individual who thinks freely. You were not born to follow orders. You were born to awaken, to see, to create, to lead yourself. And the moment you remember that, the experiment ends. If this message awakened something in you, if it made you pause, reflect, or question, don't let that awareness fade. Like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next awakening. And tell me in the comments, which part of this journey struck you the deepest? What truth resonated with your soul? I read every comment, because your awakening is not just yours, it's a spark that helps ignite others.